Anthony Mirarchi, I am so excited, my friend, to speak with you on the Be the Solution podcast today. Welcome.
I'm excited to be here as well. Appreciate the invite on. Looking forward to
Yeah.
talking today.
Well, let's rock and roll and let's get right into it. So I know one of the things that you're really great at is building relationships and over years and over time. So how did you get into what you're doing?
Interestingly enough, this was not my chosen field, I guess, initially. Like I actually went to school for engineering, mechanical engineering at Villanova University. And then
Well,
I
that's
did that.
quite a switch.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm fairly mechanically inclined and I'm more scientific leaning, I guess. So I'm a problem solution driven person. So engineers are typically like that, and we're very methodical and calculated on how we do that. So that's kind of the chosen path I took. I did it for a year out of college. I was working for a company in Delaware, but my main client was Exelon. So I worked at the two nuclear power plants that are down in this area, which is Peach Bottom down in Maryland, and then Limerick, which is close here by us. So I did that for a year. I was doing more of engineering design within the reactor. You have to change out pumps, and when they do their shutdowns, they shut down reactors every so often to do maintenance and stuff like that. So you would do all the engineering work before, and then you go in as soon as they shut it down. You have a limited time to do all that work, and you go in there and you're managing projects and whatnot. So I did that for a year, but my true love was more like finance and financial markets. So I ended up moving to New York, and I became an equity trader in New York professionally. And I did that for, I think we were there for 4 years. We had an office in Midtown Manhattan, 57th in Lexington. And then me and my partners came back to Philadelphia. We had a trading office over here. So we had about 15 traders each office, including ourselves. And after about 9 years of that, we parted ways. We had one person wanted to move to Florida, and everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and there was just too much risk involved with not having it spread amongst the three of us. So we kind of just shut down the operation. Didn't end badly. It was just kind of the course of action. And then I got into more of the wealth management side, and that's where I started to see the insurance and how that's utilized for wealthier individuals and stuff like that. And that's kind of how I transitioned to all this stuff and kind of learned under some other guys that I worked with. And then I got into the property casualty side, and then I met the owners of this agency that I bought, which is J. Patton Associates. I met them back in late 2018 or early 2018. We kind of courted each other to make sure working with each other is going to be right. And then I eventually just bought one of the partners' interests, and that's where we're at now. So J.M.
Congratulations.
I appreciate that. So that's been the transition throughout my professional career since college, basically.
Lots of different things, but they all play a factor in where you are today and how you got there.
For sure.
Yeah. So tell me, we were talking a little earlier, and you said about building and maintaining relationships. And what does that look like for you?
I mean, listen, Marie, me and you have been floating around the city, and you're going out all the time. I mean, these things ultimately, while you're doing it for a social reason, right? There's an element of, keeping a lot of those people that you meet and just continuing to maintain that. When you go out, I know these are friends. Maybe some people you don't see all the time. Sometimes you see them once in a while, but every relationship that I encounter, or every relationship that whether it's just a social or very, preliminary type relationship or whatever, ultimately, I think they're extremely important. I think just from building your reputation, people knowing who you are, the type of person you are. I think that's critical, especially when you have your own business. I mean, people need to know locally and who they're dealing with. If you're a stunad, to use an Italian word, right? If you're an idiot and you behave like an idiot, people take notice of that, whether you think they do or they don't. They know they know the type of person you are, and that doesn't bode well for business in the end. So that's the type of
Well, you could just go on Facebook today and just scroll, and you could see the bantering of idiots that exist.
It's interesting to see how little people are aware of that. Like there's no situational awareness of stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just like people take no, and maybe it doesn't matter for some people. Maybe they're just, they're working and they're doing a thing. It's irrelevant to them. But, and people like you and like me in our position, you're not afforded the luxury of looking like an idiot. You know what I mean? Because ultimately, some people may be clients. Some people may refer you things. Some people just will speak highly of you if people come across them. You know what I mean? So you have to make sure you're constantly maintaining, good relationships and just maintaining your own, I guess how you're being perceived.
Integrity.
Yeah, I mean, you want to be perceived proper. Like that's the way. It's not false. Like the way I'm perceived is the way I really am, right? And it's not like it's easy for me to do that because what you see is what you get, whether it's out or whether you get it behind closed doors. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? So it's easy for me to do.
Well, that's all about being an authenticity, right? Being your authentic self. And when you're an authenticity, you attract people that you should be around.
Sure.
You attract the right group of people. But when people put out like a fake persona, generally it doesn't work out well in the long term. You might gain some fans and followers from that, but unless you and this has been my experience anyway. I'm always the same. I'm like the same person at home,
Sure.
at work, wherever. Like me, you know me.
Yep.
A lot of people think they know me. They don't not really know me. It's more of like they know of you, but like anybody that knows me knows that there's no. It is what it is. Good, bad, or indifferent.
You get what you say.
You get what you say.
That's right. You get what you say.
Hard on the sleeve.
Marie, you know what they say? I don't know who said it. I don't know if it was like Ben Franklin or whatever. I'm paraphrasing, but essentially they say, nobody's a good, you can't be a good enough liar to hide this stuff because eventually that all kind of comes out. You know what I mean? Like you can only be fake for so long before people really begin to understand.
Until you forget all the lies that you told.
Exactly. Like trying to be fake and trying to pretend you're this or that. I mean, anybody that has any like awareness and stuff like that can cut through all that stuff. You know what I mean? They can read through that stuff.
So, that's part of also you see a lot of this in the entrepreneur community. Everybody's a expert or wants to be a coach or a speaker, or I'm sure you probably have seen this, and it's very interesting.
Lots of teachers, no doers, right?
That's right.
Right.
Lots of teachers, no doers. So, I asked somebody, well, when was the last time you were in production? Meaning, on the sales side of things. And they're not. Yeah. And I said, well, keeping yourself in somewhat of that role keeps you very close as boots on the ground in any industry. And it provides insight and intel into what's going on. And I think that when you have a team of people that work behind you or beside you, whatever, then you set the cadence.
Well, that's what leadership is, right? I mean, you don't need to do all the minutia. You don't need to get into the minutia necessarily, but you got to set that. You have to set that level, that bar where people are going to.
Well, we're all in sales, Anthony, right?
Yeah. No matter what business you're, even if you're a doctor, you're selling yourself as a physician.
That's correct. So you have to have a brand. You have to have, and your brand is not just, it's you. It's not a logo. It's not a color. People are like, oh, I need a logo. I say, you don't need no logo.
It's you. That's what that maintenance of your, I hate to say reputation, not to be like you're trying to create something, but that your persona and who you are and what people perceive you to be is your brand, like you're saying. I mean, it's, the logo is what's a logo? Logo is you. I mean, that's what people know.
It's your brand is you. And my belief, and I'm curious what yours is, in this day and age, that everybody who is in any kind of sales at all should have a strong brand.
Sure. Not a house of cards, basically. Falsely putting stuff up on this false pedestal and like, I'm this, I'm that, I can do, you know what I mean? Like that ultimately leads to disaster, I guess, in a business sense anyway.
So either you get results or you don't.
That's right.
You can have all the action, all the ideas and no action behind it.
Right. Execution, right.
It's all about execution. All about execution.
Right.
I have this little book. It's upstairs right now. I'm downstairs. And I write, this is how like basic I make it. I write down all my appointments in the book. So far this year, it's the 20th. I did 82 listing appointments this year.
Yeah, that's a lot.
1.499 appointments a day. Now I'm gearing up to be at 2. So by the end of the year, I'll have 500 listing appointments. Now I won't list all those because it's not, that's not how it works.
One, you're gonna get every one, but
yeah, I'm gonna get probably.
Although they're crazy if they don't go with you, Maria. Let's call it what it is.
Well, no, so sometimes I don't choose them. Okay, so sometimes I don't choose them. Sometimes they decide not to sell.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
They decide they're going to hold on to the house.
Sure.
Even though
that's what I did. That's what I did. I got my Philly house. I decided to hold on to it and try to rent it.
So there you go.
Yeah. So
they weren't ready to sell. I decided not to take the listing. We don't agree in pricing. That happens. Yeah. Or they list with me. Those are the 4 outcomes.
Yep.
So, and then the ones, I also call them listing and pipeline. So those people are like, so I have like one that I just talked to them this morning. Tenants are leaving at the end of June. Going to get it cleaned up. We'll get it on the market probably by the end of July. But that's a pipeline, but they haven't signed yet, but we're going to get that listing. So I say of the ones I do, I'll probably get 60% of them, maybe a little more. It depends because I might not want
a high percentage.
It's a high percentage. And of those, I would say 90% should sell because I'm being really picky about, the ones I take on.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting when you write the things down, because obviously, we use a CRM, we're sophisticated. Everything's in the CRM, but there's something about looking at it in my little black book.
Okay.
And I just keep looking at it and I say, okay. And I know every single person. I know their name. I know their address.
Yeah.
I know what pricing is. I know what the next steps are without even looking in the CRM. But when you get that granular, you really can see the results coming from just following the process.
Yeah. Pretty similar here.
Your business isn't any different, except that the process might be longer.
Yeah, it's
your courting time.
Yeah, it's listen, when you're dealing, so we're doing a lot of property like commercial property and casualty type stuff, and I do a lot of other insurance. So there's really like 2 aisles of it. When I bought this agency, they were only commercial property and casualty, right? So liability type stuff, right? On a commercial side. My background was more in the life, health, accident side of the insurance world, right? So there's like 2 aisles, I like to say, of insurance. So when I bought this agency, we began to wrap in all the other stuff because it's a good complement to what everybody's doing. Like you have a lot.
Absolutely.
The book of business was there, right? So the growth of the business was going to be from digging deeper and wider, right? So not just going after new clientele, right? But just with the book of business alone, because a lot of wealthy clients, there's a lot of physicians, a lot of business owners, stuff like that. So it was to go. We already have a trusted relationship with them. So they go deeper and then, more, what else can we do for you guys? Like we're able to do, A through Z. I know there's needs for you because they're wealthy. They have businesses. I already know what the potential some issues they may be dealing with. So I can address those pretty effectively. And then I have all the tools to be able to do that. And I know, I hate to say I'm a master of all of it, right? I'm like at here, I'm enough to like I have enough knowledge now to be able to understand where problems where they may be at and how to solve them. And then if I got to bring people in to help me with that, I bring them in as I need, you know what I mean? So, but because of that, long way of getting into the clientele side of it. Because of that, a lot of this stuff is very it's very personalized because you're dealing with a lot of finances, and as you are, because you're taking mortgages. I mean, you got all their personal financial stuff, like kind of what's going on. So we're in a similar position. A lot of this stuff is like, when you're doing commercial P&C, there's a lot of like business information you need to know. You're getting a lot of personal information. So a lot of the business that we generate is really referral based because it's hard to get. And listen, I'll be honest, I haven't tried like a blanketing the market just to go after, random business. But usually when you're in this space, it's so it's so personalized. You know what I mean? Like it usually gets referred in where it's like, listen, Anthony's fantastic. He's really going to take care of you. So, that's how a lot of our stuff comes to us. Now, like I said, I haven't tried like a real broad based like marketing campaign quite yet. I would like to do that just to try it out. But right now it's kind of how we do it. So when somebody comes over to me, it's very personalized, and it's like we're closing, if not all of them, very close to that because, they know what they're getting when they come to me because it's already coming in as a referral.
You have a very warm referral.
Yeah. And
you're not like me cold calling people that expired off the market.
Right. Exactly.
Hang up on me and then told me the other day, this one woman was screaming at me. She told me, F you.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. I'm not dealing with that. We're too seasoned at this point to deal with that type of stuff. Like we're going after stuff. I know if it's coming to me, if it's
so what kind of referral partners do you work with?
I mean, accountants, CPAs are always really good. You know what I mean? Just our own basic clients. I mean, I get stuff from them all the time because, their physicians are dealing with other physicians and they got problems and they're like, listen, talk to Anthony. Like the depth of how I try to help them is not just within insurance. People call me like Anthony's like, it's like the quintessential Italian guy. He's got a guy that does, he's got a guy.
Got a guy.
That's typical. I like that. I mean, I like people call me because, you know what I mean? If I can help them, I'll help them just to help them. Whatever it is, they call me up. Hey, can you help me with so-and-so? Oh yeah, I got somebody. I'll send you over to them. No problem. You know what I mean? So I like to be in that position because that's where you're a true trusted whether it's now or later, if they need something later on, they'll call me back. You know what I mean? So however I can help people, that's ultimately what it comes down to is like, how are you helping people? Sometimes you make money from it. Sometimes you don't. But
that's right.
All that stuff comes around. We
do a lot of things that we don't make any money
exactly.
from. Exactly. That's just how it is, and that's what we do. I'll be the solution.
Some people are short-sighted, and maybe that's why maybe some people aren't as successful. Not saying that I'm like crazy successful, but like I've had success in my own right. So, but I think a lot of it is because of that, because it's not you're truly there to help people. Like I'm going through an issue with a client right now. It's like, it's a renewal we're having for medical malpractice. So we do, like I told you, do a lot of doctors, a lot of big groups, and they're seeing a really significant increase for no reason, really, in my opinion. So it's really about like, they know my best interest is what my clients. I don't represent insurance carriers. I don't represent, anybody else than my client. And I'm there and I go to bat for them and make sure that once the recommendation comes down and they've seen everything that they need to see, they know that they're going to be in the best position possible. You know what I mean? And that's the trusted position I get put into. You know what I mean? So that's they have to trust you in that capacity. Some people don't have the persona where they can, let their client feel that. You know what I mean? It's a personal relationship. These are personal relationships. Like you're dealing with one of the most significant sale or purchase that a person's going to go through in their life, like from a value standpoint, right? So if you can't get that across, that you are like truly a trusted person, you have their best interest, then you're not going to be successful. It's transactional, but it's more than that because you're dealing with such personal things, just like we are. We're dealing with a lot of personal financial things. And like, if they don't get that like warm and fuzzy about you and nobody can get that from you, then you're dead in these businesses. You know what I mean? You're not making a widget, like where you're just like, oh, I make it and I sell it in the store and nobody sees you. That's not the business we're in. We're in a very personal, face-to-face, like people need to be able to respond to you that way and be able to ascertain that from you, or else you're done.
Yeah, it's definitely a belly to belly business for sure.
100%. 100%.
And you have to maintain that
Which is back to
relationship.
the relationships, right? You
And
got to maintain
also
that.
make sure, people recognize that that you're the expert in
Sure.
industry. And
But
when
even,
you
yeah, and even beyond that, I think once you do things and you're talking about the business at hand, like, listen, you're obviously your abilities in what you do is apparent as soon as you start talking to people, right? Just like when people talk to me, they know what I'm talking about. But it's beyond that, though. It's like people want to do transactions with people that they like, they trust. You know what I mean? Again, you're not in a business where it's like somebody's buying a widget off the shelf and they don't care about Marie Quattrone, right? It doesn't matter who she is on the back end. That's not the business we're in. You and I are both in businesses where it's like, again, like you said, belly to belly. Like you have to be able to be perceived as, number one, an expert, and then be perceived as somebody that's trustworthy and people that want to stick around with you. You know what I mean? So we have low attrition. So like I'm sure people keep on coming back to you because they trust you and they know who you are, and they have that warm and fuzzy with you. Same here. Our attrition rate is very low. The only reason I lose somebody is because company got bought out or this or that. That's why I lose a client. So otherwise, they're sticking with us because they know what they're getting and they know I got their back no matter what, essentially, just like you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Although we don't do people don't buy houses and sell houses too often unless they're investing. So
All right.
it's sometimes a long time.
All right.
But it's still good. We have a lot of clients that we work with for many, many years who are investors, and
They
they
keep
will
coming back
own
to
a
you.
lot of property,
Sure.
property.
And they keep coming back to you. There's a reason for that.
Portfolios. Someday we'll be selling them.
That's not a bad place to be at.
No, no, no. You build business over time. You know,
Slow
it's not
growth,
a
slow and steady.
20
The
years
tortoise
in.
and the hare, right? The tortoise and the
No,
hare.
tortoise in the air. It was like a turtle.
That's it. The tortoise, slowly but surely you get there. You get to the end goal.
Slow and steady. Slow and steady. Take that over anything else any day.
Yeah. It gives you a little more control, a little more, you have a little more, you can plan it out a little bit,
Plan it out. Yeah, it's really like when you look at things over time is where you really build the business, and people underestimate what they can do in 3 years
Mm-hmm.
and overestimate what they can do in 1 year.
Yeah.
So if you look at things in 3-year chunks, for the long haul, 12 months goes by pretty quickly.
You're looking to be in business for a while, right? You're looking to be able to be sustain what you're doing for a while. Like unless you can make $100 million in 1 year. That's great. If you can do that, God bless you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's far and few between.
Right.
Right. So I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
Any favorite books or podcasts that you read or listen to?
I just got done with listening to one today. One of our friends, Jay Duran.
Oh yeah.
Culture Matters. So his podcast. I listened.
Which one did you listen to?
It was the one today with his mom. Actually, sent it. He texted to me. Actually,
he texted it to me too, but I haven't had his.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was with his mom, so that was kind of cool.
Barbara.
Yeah. Yep. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I just listened to that this morning. So books are more, typical Think and Grow Rich stuff like that, like Napoleon Hill type books and more some religious stuff. I'm fairly like to consider myself fairly religious. I'm proud of that. Proud of my Catholic upbringing. So sometimes stuff like that gives some insight to life a little bit. But yeah, stuff like that. More things that gives insight and help more than like fictional type stuff. You know what I mean? I'm not interested really in that stuff, but
I hear you. Okay, so guilty pleasure.
Honestly, Maria, my days are really like my pleasures are just like being around my family and it's all. I know you've seen I see myself on Facebook and stuff, but like all that stuff, like family time, like really, like we make wine, we make the super sa, we do, all the traditional Italian type things. My parents are from Italy, so we've been able to carry on a lot of those traditions. That's like, I guess that's my guilty pleasure. I don't really do anything other than that
Yeah,
stuff.
I
Really.
would say that. Where are they from in Italy?
Calabria, so all the way down south.
Where in Calabria?
So the town is called Isca sul Ionio, which is on the Ionian coast, pretty far down on the bottom side of the foot. So that's
How far from like Reggio?
So Reggio is like the tip of Italy, like the very tip of the boot. So probably maybe like, I don't know, maybe like 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half, maybe. I don't even know if it's that far, to be honest with you. So it's pretty far down. It's that bottom piece of the boot, like right at the tip. So that's all kind of like Reggio's like real far down, and then
that's where my family's from.
All right, so yeah, I mean we're not that far actually. It's not far.
You're like about 20 minutes from Reggio.
Yeah, so you're like Tropea is not far from you on the upper coast.
That's on like
the upper
that
coast.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've been there.
So we're on the bottom side of that part of the boot, and Tropea is like right above. So you got to go. So
you're closer maybe to Villa San Giovanni.
I don't know where that's at in particular. Like we're south of.
That's where you can catch the ferry to Messina.
Oh yeah. So it's not far from there. Yeah, we're probably like an hour from there to go to Sicily.
Okay. Yeah, we're about a half hour from there.
All right. So we're like kind of generally in the same area.
Yeah, so your family's from Calabria.
Yeah, my parents are. So we're all first generation. Me and my first cousins were all first generation.
Wow.
So we had all my aunts and uncles, although I still have aunts and uncles in Italy, but first cousins there. But yeah, so that's why I'm on the just newly elected president of our chapter for Philadelphia, which you've joined. I appreciate that.
Yes,
so I am.
Cosme. One of these days, I have to get to something.
Yeah, so we'll be putting on some smaller events, and our big one's going to be probably in the fall, which is it's a veneration of our saint from the town, San Marziale. So that's really our chapter's a little special and unique in that sense because it's got more history than the organization itself because it's been around longer. Like my father, Dr. Nestigo, all the paisans that came from Italy, they started that in order to venerate the saint from the town. And then eventually, within the last 10 years, it became a chapter of Philadelphia International. But that chapter in itself has a lot of history and a lot of it's much longer history, and there's a lot of just a lot of history to it. So I just got voted the president of the chapter. So I appreciate your
yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
The Cosme chapter.
Cosme, that's it. That's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one.
Definitely let me know when.
Yeah, for sure.
Happening. Yeah. Like text me.
Yeah, we're gonna get.
I know I get the stuff, but like
Maria, we're all busy. We got we're gonna make a conscious effort to get things out like digitally to everybody and stuff like that. We're organizing ourselves as far as our main one. Like I said, is usually in May. We had to postpone that because from a time perspective, it was like Mother's Day and this, and then Memorial Day, and it was just like not going to be a good time to do it this year, which is like the first time we've shifted away from this time of year. So it's most likely going to be in the fall when everybody's back from the shore and stuff like that. So look out for that. That's our big one. That's like where we do the mass and we do the procession. We do the little festival afterwards and all that stuff. So you'll get notification of that, and also of smaller ones that we do throughout here and then. From now until then.
Awesome. You'll let me know.
We'll do it for sure.
All right. Last and final question.
What's up?
What are you most excited about right now?
My baby.
Michael Pio.
Michael Pio.
Right?
He's melts my heart when I see him. He's always smiling. It's just that's really what my focus is right now. We're just hopefully have another one at some point in the future. So it's kind of what we're family. Right? What do they say? La familia è tutto.
La familia.
La familia è tutto. Family's everything. Right?
La familia è tutto.
So that's what the focus is right now.
Oh, amore. I love it. Beautiful.
Thank
Anthony,
you.
it has been great talking with you today on Be the Solution.
The honor of giving me the honor.
Oh, my pleasure. And I am looking forward to seeing you in person real soon at one of the Philadelphia events.
Absolutely. Maybe sooner than that.
Yes. And you'll let me know if you're going to be around downtown.
Yeah, for sure.
I could pop and see, take a visit and see you.
For sure.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Maria.